living room here. And this is a great moment now to just talk about, to get to know you. First and foremost, this is the longest and the largest piece that you've ever composed. Is that right?
Yes, this is the longest piece I've ever composed. It's about 20 minutes long. I've written one 20-minute piece before, but it was for violin and piano, so this is the largest and longest piece.
Amazing, really, really exciting, very, very cool. And we'll hear the full, of course, of the world premiere later on, which is very exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you based here as a composer?
So I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but right now I'm based in Princeton, New Jersey. I'm doing a PhD there right now in music composition. But yeah, growing up in Pittsburgh, I started learning the violin at first, and then I transitioned into composition and eventually went to Juilliard for composition, and now I'm here.
Amazing. Well, it's just right next door, so it must be nice to actually come back here and actually have your music played. What a special, special moment.
It's really amazing.
And now to this extraordinary piece, Change Thy Course. Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the work and how it connects to Schumann?
Absolutely. So in writing this piece, I was thinking back to what Schumann's inspiration could have been too. There are many theories, many possible theories about what he could have been thinking when he was writing this piece. He wrote this piece over the course of 4 days, which is really incredible. But in his letters and his manuscripts, there's the potential that he was inspired by a poem by Adolf Buttger titled You Spirit of the Clouds. And I read this poem and I was really struck by the fact that the poem was actually all about winter. And it was about the coldness and how dreary and how shadows creep into your soul's light. And at the very end, the last 2 lines of the poem are, "Oh, change thy course, in the valley spring blooms." So I was thinking a lot about this yearning for spring and a memory of what spring could have been, and how, as I was writing it, it was March and it was 80 degrees, and I was thinking back to my own memory of what spring was, and how that memory has become distorted over time, how 80 degree days have become a little bit normal for spring. And so through this distortion, I started to think about my piece.
Yeah. Well, and it's really clear, and it would be great once we dive into that. But I think this idea of darkness within the poem is fascinating, because it's not really illustrated so much in Schumann, but right. The fact that you decided to extract that from the poem and maybe have a little bit more of the darkness, so then we yearn for it towards the end, it makes, I feel, that this companion sort of piece with the Schumann so brilliant. So let's go back to Schumann a little bit, so we can hear, particularly the first movement. We'll play a little bit of the first movement again for you all here, beginning with the Allegro molto section, just to get an idea of getting our ears back into the Schumann world. So this is the Allegro molto section. But what is different, Hannah?
So I was thinking about the tempo, the meter, the structure, and how maybe even the movements of the conductor could be the same in my piece of Schumann, but what you hear becomes distorted and different. So the sounds that I decided to use were, firstly, air sounds in brass and woodwinds. What their original sound, what their playing sound could be, but seen through clouds and distortion.
So this is kind of the first element of the distortion, and it sounds a little bit like this with the wind sounds, with the air sounds. Something like that, yes. Even with a little bit of a note. And what else do we have with the sound?
And next we have scratch tones in the strings, which if you've ever learned a string instrument, you usually try and avoid this. But
and that sounds a bit like this. Yeah. So all of these elements really distorting the sound to really create this bleak winter feeling, essentially, right?
Yeah. And it's sort of like seeing Schumann through a very clouded lens and squinting in the distance, remembering what maybe when you were 4 years old, what that memory looks like is how I was picturing these sounds.
And why do you feel like it's so important to use maybe these contrasting sounds for the audience?
I think that for me, whenever I hear something new and something exciting, it draws me in. Hearing new sounds, I feel like lead me to a process of discovery that kind of draws me in and connects me to the piece a little bit more. And so I think it's really interesting to use these sounds that you wouldn't normally hear to kind of accentuate those sort of wacky or new elements, because then you're drawn to it and you grab it.
Keeping us on our toes, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. I think what also draws us in so well is your string writing. And that's illustrated really at the very, very beginning of the second movement. That sounds like this. Again, this stillness of winter is really, really sort of makes a sort of transparency of sound, and the colours that are sort of the effects that you get in the strings are really, really lovely. Can you tell me about sort of a composer that inspired you to maybe write similarly to this?
Yes. So as I was growing up playing violin, I played a lot of chamber music with my friends, and one of the composers that really inspired me growing up was actually Shostakovich. And I found both his rhythmic writing and also his just extremely still and stark string writing immensely inspiring. It was extremely fun to play as a young musician, and also the timbres that he was able to achieve, I think, really brought out a different emotional side of string writing that was really special to me.
Great. So with that in mind, we'll have a little bit of an excerpt from our principal of strings to play Shostakovich's 15th string quartet, the second movement. And we'll be right back after this second. Thank you. Thank you.